Hiya Tom, great to see the footage based on the previous work that we were doing. Just a quick overview on what I'd like to see you do next. Looking at it from face on, one thing I am happy with is the ability to stay centred. You've definitely fluid the feet out better, the handle location's more appropriate, etc. A couple of things that I'm not too keen on. One is the stance is too wide. I'd like to see you move this trail footing to where the red line is. That's going to allow you to get the lower centre of gravity a little bit more over the top of the ball and make it easier for you to move that forward during the downswing. Also, by moving that trail leg too far back, the head is also starting to kink back with it. As the eyes are aligned too much to the right, it tends to make it easier for you to force the club in, as we see here, during the takeaway. So in regards to the setup, foot flow is good, handle location is good, weight location is good. I'd just like to see you narrow the stance a touch and level those eyes out a little bit more. Having said that, the work that we did on your previous session, which was largely trying to get the hand path to work in, has come on a treat. One of the things you did discuss in an earlier email was the fact now that the club was rolling behind you, and as promised, that will be the next piece that we worked on. But you can see there that the hand path's pretty good. If we compare the hand path that you've got there to Charlie, you can see Charlie's hands working up hand plane from P1 to P2. So it's up that red line from P1 to P2, as we see with yourself. There's a touch of a climb above plane with yours, but certainly not as much as you had in your previous swing. So how can we get that hand plane in a little bit more and control how the club gets sucked in behind us here and just rolls open a fraction? Well, the first thing we need to do is appreciate how the back of the left hand affects this. Now, if you're visiting various forums or reading Golf Machine, for instance, you'll hear this referred to as accumulator 3. Well, what we see with Charlie is very little loading of accumulator 3 from P1 to P2. So the back of the left hand doesn't load or roll very much during the takeaway. What we see with yourself is that the back of the left hand, accumulator 3, loads much earlier, rotates much earlier, and as a result that has the effect of just lifting the hands a fraction and rolling the club behind you and slightly open to the arc. You can see there that the back of the left hand is mirroring the club face, both with yourself and with Charlie. So what I'd like to see you do over the coming weeks would be to control the rate at which accumulator 3, the back of the left hand, loads from P1 to P2. And the way I'd like to see you work that in is to feel like you see here with Charlie, there's zero rotation of the club face, or the zero rotation of the back of the left hand from P1 to P2. Now start off, that's going to feel quite invasive at first. Start off by making some swings back to waist level and through. Because of the lack of rotation at this stage and the steady loading of accumulator 3, there's no need to dramatically release the golf club on the way through, because the club face is much squarer to the arc. As the footage we get through from you improves, we'll start to see that the club face coming into the golf ball at this point at P6 delivery is quite open, and as a result requires you to release the club quite aggressively on the way through. You can see here that as you come through the hitting area, there's quite an aggressive use of the hands and the arms, and as a result the arms separate from the rib cage. You can't absorb the speed of the club very well, and the hands and the arms and the club crash into the back in the follow through. What we see with stack and tilt players is a more controlled finish, because there's much less of a release. The arms are staying on the rib cage much longer, the speed of the club is being absorbed properly as the wrists recock, allowing the finish to be much more controlled. You look at the difference between those two follow throughs, particularly from down the line. You can see there's a marked difference in the position of the club in the finish. So the key points to take away with you in this session are to feel much more like you see here with Charlie. Back of the left hand, accumulator 3 does nothing from P1 to P2. From P2 onwards, let it load as you feel appropriate. Then what I'd like to see you do is work on controlling this finish, and in order to do that, what I'd like you to do, hit all your shots stopping at chest height. In order to stop at chest height, the arms must stay on the rib cage. If the arms come off the rib cage, it will be impossible to hit the brakes at chest height. If the arms stay on the rib cage, we'll hit out at the golf ball much less and turn the corner at the bottom of the swing in a much more appropriate manner, also policing the rate of closure on the club face. So controlling accumulator 3 in the takeaway, holding the finish or finishing the swing much shorter. Watching Mike Bennett and Andy Plummer in a clinic recently, one of the things they suggested to all the students was hit it hard, stop quick. I think that's a great way of working on your finish and controlling the rate at which the club face closes down. Good luck with it. If there's any issues, feel free to drop me an email and I'll try and answer your questions as quickly as possible. Well done.